We just finished up the book of Ruth. 10 weeks of the book of Ruth. We had 10 lessons in the book of Ruth. And those are all available online if anyone's interested in listening to those later on. You just go to the web page or you go to different media sources, and they're available. I think probably up to 4 different types of media sources. Those type of places that have recording, that have video on it. You have like places like, I won't name the places. I'll tell you after class what the places are. So, but you can, basically, when I found this out, you go to Google and you just do a search on BFTBC videos, and a bunch of our videos will come up. So that was exciting.
Yeah.
When I saw that. Yes. If you don't have a computer, then
No.
okay, it's not going to help us any. But so we are studying the book of Genesis today. We're going to try to get through chapter 1. Overview. We can't go into great detail, but we'll go into some detail for chapter 1 of the book of Genesis. If you're joining us online, like to join the tabletop conversation, I think this number will work here. I'm trying to get it working better. But anyway, this number that you see on the screen, this 213 number, that's below this black device there.
Oh.
I'm going to call that up. What you do,
Oh, see.
you take a telephone like this, or the other kind of telephone, the one with a wire on it, and you dial 213 416 1560, and then the young lady will come on and ask for some information. I'm just going through this so you'll know how to do it and know how it sounds. See, she welcomes you to the thing. Then your access code is right there, 625306636. And then you push pound. Okay, so now I'm going to have some feedback here. Okay. Now, if there's an audio pin, I think this could be 110. But see, we have feedback because I'm talking on the phone, this phone, and the phone there in the classroom. And I'm going to be disconnected. So that's how you would do it if anyone's listening by remote. So if you could be away at your home, any place you want to be, and then you can be able to listen and talk. People could talk in. 100 people could talk in or call in and have a big conference call with this class if they wanted to. In the past, we've had people call in. Lately, people have been having trouble, so that's why I was giving instructions on how to do it. But anyway, the book of Genesis has 50 chapters, and it covers a long range of period, over 2 millennia, over 2,000 years of time. It covers the book of Genesis, 2,000 years. That's a long amount of time in 50 chapters. Can you imagine that? 2,000 years. Now, I have here a quick summary of just the first 5 chapters. We're going to go slow. And if you don't have one of these, I want Ed or not. Got one here. She's got one, please. You got yours, Caroline? Okay. So the first, chapter 1 gives a brief overview of the genealogies, probably about creation. It gives basically a summary of creation.
Yes, summary of creation.
A summary of creation. Now, if I put the lines in here, because there may be more chapter content. I guess you can't see. The lines are on here. If there's more chapter content you want to add, go ahead and add it. And then bring the sheet back next week, and we'll kind of maybe revise this sheet so we can have what we see as far as chapter content. So that's the main thing. Now, in chapter 2 of Genesis, we have more details about creation. More details of creation. And then in chapter 3, of course, I also put down key verses. So as you're studying this, maybe later on this week, looking over some of these chapters 1 to 5, or whatever, however far you get, note some key verses. Like for instance, Genesis 1:1, of course, is a good key verse for chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. That's the key verse there. And we go through a key verse for each of the chapters. Now sometimes we'll find that there's more key verses than, there's more than just one. And it kind of contradicts the point about a key verse. But we have a couple key verses if we want to. And then, of course, chapter 3 is the fall of man. Chapter 4, we have the death of Abel, the birth of Seth. And in chapter 5 we have the genealogy,
So-
kind of a early genealogy of time. Genealogy is like, you know, this person gave birth to this person gave birth to this person. That's a genealogy. So we start with Adam and we go, you know, all the way to, I guess, the point of the early genealogies there in chapter 5. Now that's the quick overview of 5 chapters. Now, what's something that you might know about any of these 5 chapters? One of Caroline, we'll start with Tammy. Tammy, since Tammy's way over there. Tammy, what do you, something you may know about these 5 chapters? Anything.
Well, you've given a good outline for the first 5 chapters as far as, you know, what happens.
Yes.
I know something.
But creation occurred in 6 days.
Yes.
On the 7th day God rested.
Right. That's important. So, to sum up what Tammy says, creation occurred in 6 days.
Yeah.
And on the 7th day, God rested. 6 solar days, not a big. We'll get to that later on here. But as far as creation is when we talk about there, well, we talk about it now.
Right.
There's there's the day age aspect. There's the creationist aspect, and there's another aspect of that people believe it's kind of a pattern type of thing. It's kind of, I'm still trying to understand this other aspect of it. That's not quite the right name of it. You know, the right name of it will come to me soon. Usually the
Gap theory you're talking
gap.
about?
Not there, but in addition to gap theory, there's something else, kind of new type of gap theory. But it essentially,
Alien beings seeded the earth.
no,
Yeah.
it's something.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
something that's just quite a little bit different than. It's a variation of the gap theory.
Look pretty.
You know, it's a variation of kind of marrying the gap theory, theistic evolution. It kind of comes up with some type of different type of idea, and I'm still trying to understand that idea. Now, Caroline, you said there was just one thing from
Adam and Eve?
Adam and Eve. That's right, Adam and Eve. What do we know? What do we know about Adam and Eve? Hey, what's one thing we know about Adam and Eve?
Well, they were the first people. But I'm going to say something.
Sure.
Now, I know Cain did kill Abel.
Yes, he did.
But I know this. I think I'm right. Adam and Eve didn't have Seth till they were 111, I think. Is that true?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, that's
the exact age.
that's true.
But yes, it was close to that age.
111. But
That's right.
now, let me ask you this. After Cain and Abel, before Seth, was there anybody else?
Yes, there
Or
was.
there had to be.
There was.
It's been a long time
Right. Mhm.
since but I know Adam and Eve were 111 when they had Seth. And some people say back then, a year was 365 days, it might have been 50 days, it might have been 20 days, because you know how old people lived. But then again, on the other hand, they did count the moons.
Well,
So
what
it's-
I would say to answer that question is the fact of the
I agree,
why
right.
people lived longer was this was pre-flood days,
Right.
before the flood,
Yeah,
and we know about the flood, and there was a canopy. We believe there was a canopy of some sort that surrounded the atmosphere. You go 5 miles up, I'm not sure how many miles up, 15 miles up, some far up in the atmosphere, there was a vapor canopy. Now just think if you were living in, you know what a greenhouse is, right?
Yeah.
This is the greenhouse idea, the greenhouse concept of creation. And the idea, what was happening, is we had a greenhouse all around the world. And so that greenhouse was healthy for us.
Protection.
Was healthy for mankind, was protecting, that's a good job, was protecting us, and so that we would not be able to, we could live longer. See, sin is what caused man to die.
Right.
Was their sin. Adam's sin brought death upon all mankind. And so we have this greenhouse idea. That's why they lived so long back then. It's not about the year is different. It was the same type of year.
I understand,
Yeah,
but
same
people,
type of year.
but a lot of people, atheists and skeptics, they say that how could Noah live that long? How could Methuselah live that long?
Right,
979 years,
Mhm.
because the year was only like maybe 20 days.
That's right.
But that's
right.
not true.
No, it's not.
There's a DVD set available from the Creation Museum in Texas. It's called Creation and Symphony. Carl Baugh is the narrator of it.
Okay, yeah.
And he's the only one that I know of that gives a complete explanation of this, about the canopy.
What's his name?
Carl Baugh.
Well, yeah. we have a book by him here. I mean, if you can't find it anyplace else, but I'm not sure if this is the same book. That's think maybe it's the same book.
Well, what I'm referring to is a 3 DVD set
Oh, you're
where
talking
he
about a
gives
DVD
complete
set.
lectures
Okay.
on the whole series. And he also brings together information from other sources that support the idea of the canopy that was on the earth, around the earth at that time.
Right. Okay.
There was no rain.
No.
Before the flood, there was no rain.
That's right, there was no rain, but there was moisture in the air. The canopy also filtered the light from the sun.
Right. It did.
And there's also theory about, which he doesn't talk about on there, but I've heard from other places that there were certain kind of bacteria that are destructive that have been in the earth today that did not exist at that time. So
That's
matter
interesting.
didn't break
Yeah.
down
Right.
like it does now.
Right.
And that's, see, everything that is proclaimed in the Bible,
Yes.
you know, you can, if science hasn't discovered it yet, it eventually will discover some of it anyway,
Yes.
and verified. Bible's not disputed.
No. No.
If people look at scientific information without the programming that, you know, they keep telling us in the millions of years ago,
Yeah,
if you
right.
take that out of the
Yes.
equation altogether,
Right.
and just look at the evidence for what it really is.
Yes. Right.
They're never going to do that.
The science doesn't dispute the Bible
Right. No.
at all. But, you know, getting to what Eddie was saying here too, in terms of time, that a day was 1,000 years.
Then
or
how
something
could
like that.
then
No,
how
go to
could
verse
God
5.
create it, right?
Go to verse 5 in
6
chapter
days.
1, the last sentence. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
You see that?
And the
See?
evening and the morning,
So
a
that-
24-hour day.
That goes to prove it right there. A day was
That's
a
right.
day. She says a 24-hour day?
It doesn't have to say 24 hours.
What's it say? Could you read it again?
Sure, and the evening and the morning were the first day.
There you go. That means that's a day.
That's
Because
right.
that's the
It
evening
defines
and the
what a day
morning.
is there.
Right.
The sun
The
came up.
thousand,
Right. That's a day.
1,000-year day was for a totally different purpose, and that comes into the picture much later on. That's basically just to show that time doesn't really mean anything to God.
Yeah, his concept's totally
Right,
different.
he's
than-
totally
a day,
outside
right, a
the-
day,
the
what's it?
limitations of
How's
time.
it going? Get a day is like 1,000 years, 1,000 years is like a day.
Yeah,
Did
that
I
was
get
in
that right?
First Peter or
Book of
2 Peter,
Psalms.
something like that.
Book of Psalms.
Now, Joanne, what were some of your thoughts you have about these first 5? We're going over chapter 1 today, but we're doing kind of this
Well, here's it.
chapter just some overview of the first
Well,
5
Yeah, an
chapters.
introductory
Yeah,
overview.
right.
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
chapter tells about the creation
Yes.
and each day of the creation, and then we have the first sin. Is that
Yes.
in the first chapter? or
Yes,
no?
it's in
Okay.
chapter 3.
And then, and how everything was changed and how they were chased out of the garden and.
Right.
And I mean, that to me is very, you know,
Right.
interesting and I believe, you know,
It
that it was
happened.
happened in a 24-hour day.
Right. Now, Bill, how about any more things you want to add, Bill, or?
No, you know, maybe as we get to some certain things, Genesis has got so much history in it.
Yes, it does. Right. Now, if anyone wants to send an email, please send an email to questions@bftbc.org. That's questions@bftbc.org. And please, if you're listening right now, dial this number to get in the class. Otherwise, we'll be disconnected. The number will work for a while, unless no one dials in, then we will be disconnected. Please call up. We want to hear from you, either by email, by telephone, anyway. It would be great. So. Let's get to the book of Genesis. Let's read the first 5 verses. We'll start with verse Bill, and then we'll go around until we get down to Pam.
Sorry, before we start, can I
Yes,
do this?
please.
I'm not sure, maybe, no, this isn't the verse, I thought it was. the verse we were referring to as
Okay.
far as you.
Okay.
But it's,
Well,
it's
No,
similar,
that's either in
not-
First or Second Peter. I
It's
don't remember
mentioned
which.
in both New Testament and both. So we'll look for that verse. Okay, so I'll write that down. So we'll look for that verse. A day as 1,000 years. Okay. We'll find that verse, and if we can't pick it up today, we'll pick it up next week. So Bill, go ahead with verse 1. I would put down for the key verse, one of the key verses in Genesis chapter 1.
Oh, yeah.
Is Genesis 1:1. That's a very important key verse. Now, if you put up another key verse, let us know either today or next week, and we will add that as a key verse, one of the key verses. So we read 5 verses right now. And go ahead, Bill, start with verse 1.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
John,
Oh. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
Where are we? Where are we?
Verse 3.
Oh, all right. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light.
Good.
And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day.
All right, so we have the this is the first day of creation. Now, what was taking place in this first day of creation? We have here God mentioning in verse 1 the heaven and the earth. Now, that's the atmosphere we have. We have Paul referring to in the book of Acts. He's called the third heaven. So I think of the heaven and the earth. We have the atmospheric heaven. We have the starry heaven, the celestial heaven. So I believe God created heaven and the earth. No,
He hadn't created the stars yet.
no, that's true.
So that the actual universe, where he created the earth, was heaven.
Okay.
And the earth, which was not necessarily even solid at that time, it could have been a vapor, it could have been dust. He was putting it together and making it, at that time, he was forming the earth.
Yes, they could be considered more like watery.
Yeah.
More like watery. We might as well see later on. And so we have what we
He put all the elements
yes,
there.
that's right. We have the absence of the stars. So you can think if there weren't any stars,
Yeah.
no other planets, no sun, nothing, but just the earth and then the space that would be surrounding the earth. And so that is what was created in the beginning. And we believe on the first day of creation. And it talks about the earth being without form and without void. In other words, it's just doesn't have any design identification to it.
Doesn't void mean mistake?
No.
Well, not
Void means we have more idea of the word empty.
That's right.
And that's what we
void.
That's what void would mean. Is more like empty.
Okay.
Now,
good.
see, it says, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. So that was as far as what was on the earth. God's Spirit, the Holy Spirit, we know that God is three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And what did God say in verse 3, Caroline? What did God say in verse 3?
Let there be light.
Let there be light. And then, see that and God saw the light, that it was good. And so what did God do? He divided the light. He divided the light, and the light from the darkness. Now you see, what is darkness?
Nothing.
An absence of light.
That's right. Darkness
That's all
is
that
the
was.
absence of light. That's what light is.
And the thing,
That's
this,
what
when he created the light here,
I'm sorry.
it's not because of the stars, because he hadn't created
That's
the
right.
stars yet.
That's correct.
So all the light had to come from him.
Right, God's Shekinah glory, and furthermore, I think God could have created a light with age. Furthermore, Tammy, what would you comment? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's this one.
So then it wasn't the sun that he created for the
No,
light?
No,
not yet.
Okay.
No, he had light. Was it present before? Light was present, which we don't understand. We don't understand. We understand it by faith. But light, because we try to have a scientific explanation of it. That's why I'm trying to say he created everything with age. All the things on this earth were created. Adam was created with age. Adam may have looked something like as old as Eddie, or he wasn't an infant. He wasn't a baby. He was an adult.
Mature.
Yeah.
There we go. There's the word. He was mature. So what I'm
I mean, you think of maturity,
Yes.
completion. So when he created him, Adam, he was complete. He wasn't a baby that had to grow, or a child that needed to grow.
No, he was not.
So it makes sense that he would create, an adult.
Adult, right.
Right. And so maturity. Everything that was created as mature. Look at all the things that were created in this account of Genesis.
So when he made the birds, he didn't make them from eggs. He made
This
birds.
may,
Yes, made mature birds. The ones that are out there building nests this afternoon or this season.
Chicken came before the egg.
Yes,
Yes.
it did.
see, I believe that too. Adam was born as a man, but how do we know that for sure? I understand it makes sense, like in a faith way, but how do we know that? But because she's
As
gonna
opposed
take
to-
care of him as a baby, right? Or
Well,
as he,
Yeah,
so it makes sense that he was born as a man.
right.
Because he
That's
gave
correct.
him a job
Right,
to do, too.
yeah.
He was intelligent. He had an intelligence. He had an intelligence, to that. Which, in other words, Adam, he wasn't a baby. He was as tame
I
as
believe
and
that
mature.
too, but how do we know that for sure? Without a doubt, how do we know he wasn't a baby with intelligence? And I don't know,
A
man.
super genius baby. Well, because
Why not?
because
He was
Adam,
a super genius man, wasn't he?
he was.
Yeah,
was-
because he gave him a job to do, and you wouldn't give a child a
Yeah.
job to do.
It makes
So,
sense. You know?
so if you take the baby theory for a moment, Ed,
Yeah.
you mean the baby?
Well, I believe it was a man too,
Okay.
but how do we? But what I'm saying, how do we know that without a doubt? Well, I guess we don't. But what were we gonna say?
I would think that I wouldn't doubt the fact that Adam was a man, was a mature man.
That's what I feel too.
That's right.
This is Genesis, especially the early chapters, really challenge a person's ability to have faith in the Bible more than any other part of the book of the Bible
Yes,
itself, because you have to accept the fact that God created. First of all, you have to accept the fact that God created all living things in adult form first, and told them
Makes sense.
to be fruitful and multiply.
Yes. Yeah. See, that's another. See,
Man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
And
Cindy,
then
you're-
you also had to accept the fact that people lived
Yeah, but how long
800,
after?
900 years
Yes.
early on.
Right.
And everything that's said here sounds fantastic and is not part of our normal world today.
No.
So you have to really test your own faith.
Right.
Do I accept this, or is this just a bunch of fables
Right.
to teach us a moral lesson, which a lot of the people out there, and even in some churches these
Right.
days, they're teaching that it's just there as stories, to teach us
Yes.
to.
Yep.
That's right.
And it's not. Every word of God is true.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
every word of God is literal.
Right.
And you either accept it completely, or if you in the back of your mind you say, well, I don't really want to read this too much because it's not quite true or something. No, you should read it with as much enthusiasm as you read Isaiah 53 or anything else in the Bible.
Right.
That it is absolutely true, it is accurate in every detail.
Right. That's right. So you understand what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so what we have is God created the light and divided the light from the darkness. So it's the darkness, absent of light. There was a division there, a division. And again, this is with we don't think of light being mature, but it was. It's God's Shekinah glory that was there on the earth before there was a so-called. He was the only source, as Bill said earlier, of the light. God's Shekinah glory was the source of the light, and he created the light with maturity. We don't need it. God doesn't need a source. God doesn't need a source. We mean a sun, a star, for light.
Did you say he created the light
I
in
said
maturity?
God created everything. God created was with maturity, including the light. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because scientists are going to say, well, light travels at X, the certain speed of light.
That has
And so-
nothing to do with
No.
God.
It doesn't. I mean, this is the sign. So in other words, God He created light, and the ray of light could have been a whole ray of light He created.
That's right.
And then He put the sun in place later on, a couple days later.
Even when he created the other stars,
Yes.
the light supposedly traveling from these other stars did not need any time to get here.
No.
When he created those stars, there was a beam of light emanating from each of those stars that was visible here on the earth instantly.
Right. Exactly.
No time was needed.
The beam of light was created and connected to the star.
So, to the sun, which is a star. Every star is a sun.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Every star is a sun. And they said because it takes 8 minutes. See, science breaks it down. But for the sun, 178,000 miles a second, because it takes 8 minutes for a beam of light. Say if the sun died out, it would take 8 minutes for the earth to run out of light. You know, that's... So, listen, some things science says I believe, most of it I don't.
Okay.
I know the word of the Bible, every word of that in that book came right from the mouth of God.
Yes.
But like I said Sunday when I was here, a couple pastors said a lot of the Bible wasn't written by God.
That was.
Oh, yes,
that was
yeah, I know it was.
Historical, yes. I remember you saying that.
Ain't that something?
Yes,
Of course it was.
It is something. It is something.
They ought to believe certain things.
That's right. They limit what they believe. And so, go ahead, Bill. You said something?
There are many pastors who are timid and afraid to stand up for the Bible when science comes out with some theory as to how the universe works.
Yes.
They right away they say,
Yeah.
well, the Bible is not scientifically accurate. Yes, it is too. These were the Old Testament times was a different dispensation altogether.
Yes, that's right.
God performed miracles all
Right.
throughout that time.
Mm-hmm.
He does today, but we don't see them.
No, we don't.
So we can't point to a specific miracle and say that's a miracle of God.
Right.
However, He gives us the demonstration of His power
Every
in
day.
the old. Well, sure, but in terms of miracles that we can identify
Right.
conceptually,
Right.
we have that in the Old Testament in abundance.
Yes.
And either you accept it or you don't. These preachers today who do not accept the long lifetimes of people in the early chapters of Genesis, they don't accept the creation. That's because they have a lack of faith. Now, fortunately for those people, if they would at least turn to Creation Ministries International,
Yes.
or Answers in Genesis and some of these other places, they would find that there's plenty of scientific information that supports the early chapters of Genesis.
Right. That's right. That's right. And so then the next three verses, and so we have a division between the day and the darkness. You know, God is doing this in the very first day. And then verses 6, 7, and 8. Let's just read those 3 verses. So Ed, read verse 6, Caroline verse 7, and Tammy verse 8 of Genesis chapter 1.
I read 6.
Yes.
And God said, let there be a
Firmament.
firmament in the midst of the waters, and let divide the waters from the waters.
Good. Caroline, go ahead.
And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so.
And God called the firmament heaven,
Firmament.
and the evening and the morning were the second day.
Okay, now we have the division. I guess as Bill was pointing out before we have the first heaven and the second heaven division of our atmosphere. But now we have the firmament. God creates the firmament, which is the atmosphere that we live in. In other words, you know, planes fly in the firmament. Birds fly in the firmament. It's not to be 15 miles, whatever the area up there is. A certain number of miles outside that dome we have out there is going out into the second heaven, out into the celestial heaven, out into the starry heaven. But there aren't any stars yet. But I'm talking about in our modern time, when a spacecraft goes, leaves the Earth's atmosphere. This is what God's created. He's created this firmament. Now, He's divided the waters which were under the firmament and the waters which were above the firmament. You see that, Ed? That's what we were talking about before, the canopy. So there's a water canopy that goes, think of a balloon or a blanket or an umbrella, be better to think about it, an umbrella. We put an umbrella up, and with this water on top of the umbrella, and then there's water down in the, so here's my umbrella with my without the umbrella, you know, right here. So up here, we should be able to get an umbrella someplace, but anyway, I don't have one handy.
That's all right, we all know what it looks like.
So we have an umbrella, okay? Up here is the umbrella, all right? Above the umbrella is the water. And down here by the point of the umbrella is more water. So we have this canopy. It has a greenhouse effect. Joanne, comment or?
Well, I have a question. So
Sure.
could you say the firmament is like the horizon, where you see the earth like this, and then here is like so?
Well, it's like the horizon in the sense that the horizon's like this, but you see it coming up like this in an angle, don't you? You see the horizon arcing, don't you? Of a sort?
I don't know. I'm
We
just
we
thinking.
don't have it here now.
I just think when I look at the ocean and you see that it looks like that, and it looks like the sky meets the ocean.
It does, yes.
So,
Well, the only problem is if you travel on the ocean out to where the
Oh, it keeps
right,
moving.
yeah,
Yeah.
it keeps moving. So you don't have a real
Don't have
thing
rocks,
there.
but-
But the firmament that was in the sky, you could look up and see it as well, not just in the distance.
What
So-
keeps moving?
so there's no land yet. This is just all
There's
water.
all land. There's
So-
water
So
down
what-
below, but most of it is inside the earth,
Well,
which came up.
It says in verse
She said
1,
there's water.
it just talks about water.
Here's what Danny said. That's what
Yes.
you said.
Right, now,
So-
So it's
water.
water. So
Right.
it's water
So now-
here.
I don't know, I'm trying to clarify
Well, that's what
that
Danny
myself.
said, I think.
I'm
There's
trying-
water on the surface, but there's no oceans.
I'm trying to draw a graph here, and the pencil didn't show up. So I'll draw it again here. I'll just bleed through it. This is my anyway. There you go. So now, still doesn't show up.
You know, later on, when the flood occurs, the earth opens up and water
Comes
is
up
released
there.
from inside the earth.
Right.
And when that water comes up, it forms the oceans as well, because in the beginning there was no oceans.
Ah.
There were streams and there was rivers and pools, places where there were water on
Ah.
the surface. So because there were fish in, you know, on,
Right.
I forget, it's the third day, I think it is, that he creates fish and the sea
Right.
creatures or something like that.
Now, Joanne, does this clear it up for you?
Well, that's the umbrella that I thought is
That's it.
protecting
See,
the
now
earth.
here's the ocean here.
Where?
This squiggly line is the ocean.
Oh, okay.
And this is your horizon, Joe. When you're at the shore,
Right.
you see the point where the ocean meets the sky.
Right.
But see, above this area here, this is where the waters were.
Oh,
So you have
okay.
the waters above the firmament, the waters below the firmament. So
Okay.
that's what is being demonstrated. Can you see the screen okay, Caroline and Tammy? And so that's what is being described here as far as the firmament is what we think of as our atmosphere. Our atmosphere. So God made division. This is what God put this firmament in place.
So the waters on the first day that it talks about, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that covering the earth?
Yes, that's covering them. That's the waters opposite. You take away the umbrella. That's right. You take away the firmament, and that's all we had. Right. That's correct.
Okay.
And then the firmament. We had a firmament. The division of it. There could have been even. It was probably even something we don't quite understand as far as how the water. How hot the watery.
Maybe the water was all, the whole earth was
Yes.
was water.
Yes, that's correct.
Is that what
That's
you and
right.
Bill were saying
Yeah.
earlier?
That's right. That's what.
So
it was.
it's a big ball of water.
Yes, that's correct.
That's what it sounds
Yes,
like.
that's
yeah.
right.
But he divided the ball in half, right? Even
No.
because there was
Well, what-
water above and the water below. No.
There was a
It's like-
division.
It's like the sky, what we can see.
Right.
That would be the firmament. I mean, the heaven as in what would be called the first heaven, right?
Yes, first heaven. Mhm.
First heaven. So it'd be, where the planes fly, where the birds fly, that the firmament.
Okay.
And so by God, the act of God, by creating the firmament, and he put, there was water above it, and there was water down below it on the surface, and God called the firmament heaven. Okay, so in my beautiful artistic graph here, up here this aspect is heaven, and this aspect here is earth.
Earth. Okay.
So where the water presently was earth. Even though we're out in the ocean, we're still on the earth.
Okay.
And so he called it earth, and the evening and the morning were the second day.
Okay.
See that, Ed? He's calling it the second day. He's calling it days.
Right,
Days.
exactly.
Got it? Okay, now let's
Yeah.
read 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Bill, go ahead and start with verse 9, please.
And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so.
And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good.
11 now?
Yes.
11c. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herbs yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind. A whole seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. I apologize, I'm just a little tired,
I
man.
understand. It's understandable.
I like studies like this, I have to say.
Verse 12.
And the earth brought forth grass and herb, yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
Okay.
And the evening and the morning were the third day.
And the evening.
Okay, now you see what's happening here in this verse. We have going back to our graph here. This beautiful drawing here.
Evening and the morning.
We have God causing land to appear. So there's a land. Land being. Oh, you see that pencil? Land is appearing. Land is actually appearing. God is causing it to. The land is there. He's causing.
The waters are gathering together.
The waters are gathering together. Yeah. So the waters are being put into seas and into oceans, into lakes and rivers. However God wants to break it up. The pre-flood land, the pre-flood earth, the pre-flood physical terra firma earth.
Okay.
God is breaking it. God is dividing it up. Now, then upon this earth, what does God do? We see God bringing forth
Grass.
vegetation, grass, trees, and he says, whose seed is in itself.
Right.
So this indicates trees that are mature trees.
The
Grass that's mature, that's mature grass.
Right.
See, grass that has the maturity to it. It's like, sometimes people put sod down on their lawn.
Right.
They go through new home sites. Sometimes they'll lay out the wall sod, and all of a sudden you drive by one day, it's a big front yard of mud or of dirt, and now the next day you drive by and it's a beautiful lawn, or at least it looks like a beautiful lawn. Until it's not beautiful until they actually water it and it gets really established with its roots. But God created with maturity.
Right. And the fruit trees had to have fruit on them.
Yes.
Because that's where the seed
The
of the
seed
fruit.
is in itself. That's correct. That's right. The seed is there. The fruit trees had the seed inside of them.
Right.
And so
Because it came from fruit and the seed was there. So the fruit came, right, like everything else.
yes, the fruit came first.
Like when you look at an orange, you see how the seeds are in the orange.
Yeah.
You eat an apple, the
It
same
makes
thing.
sense, see?
The seeds are in.
I never thought about that before, really.
No, that's right. So that's why we said, but Tammy mentioned these word maturity. God, and I use the word age, but maturity is a much better word. God created things with maturity. The fruit, whose seed was in itself. So all the things that grow in the ground, You know,
Right.
God created on this third day. Now, let me see, 1, 2, 3. We're going to read verses 14 and 19, and we'll start with you, Bill, with verse 14, please.
And God said, let there be lights in the firmament
Lights.
of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years.
All right, verse 15.
Right here.
And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth, and it was so.
16. You ready, everyone?
You go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
No.
And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. That's the third day or the fourth
Fourth
day?
day.
Fourth. That's fourth. You're right. It's the fourth day.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, I like that.
Yes.
So that means the sun wasn't made yet to the fourth day, because the sun is a star.
That's right. Yeah, and it says he also talks about the greater light and the lesser light.
Yeah.
Well, that's day and night.
Yes. No.
What's
It's not
that?
day and night. It's the greater light and the lesser light is the sun and the moon.
Which one would I just read? 16?
Yeah.
And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day.
Which is the sun.
Right, that's what I just said, right? And the lesser light to rule the night.
Which is the moon.
He made the stars also. I thought that's what I said. Did I just say that?
Oh, maybe he did say that.
Yeah, maybe I said, look, it's me. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Okay, Carolyn. Did you read Carolyn yet?
So, no, she's
Okay, great.
17.
And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
And to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good.
And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And so on this fourth day, we have primarily, the majors, the sun and the moon being created. And so the greater light and the lesser light. The sun, the moon it's thought to be a reflection of the sun.
Yeah.
And so it's not as bright as the sun is. But this, and he made, the God says he made the stars also, and he put them in the firmament of heaven. So there's the aspect of up into this is the celestial heaven, where the stars are in outer space. God put the moon. God put the stars. Dan, you got a question?
Well, I was just noticing, about the seasons, signs and seasons, and I had a cross-reference from Psalm 104:19. He appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knoweth who's going down. So,
That's Psalm what?
Psalm 104:19.
Psalm 104. So, you see what has happened. We have a division here in the celestial firmament, the celestial heavens. And the divisions are with the stars. And he made the stars also. And again, as we said earlier, God made these stars with maturity, meaning, what I mean by that is, the maturity means the light was already, he had the ray of light and the star, and he put it in place by his very words. He didn't have to follow any theories by Einstein, or anyone else for that matter, but he made the stars with maturity. He made the sun with maturity. Everything we see in creation is made with maturity. So that's why. Tammy, go ahead.
Is this the same firmament?
It's a different firmament of a sort.
Okay.
Different firmament.
There's no distinction here at this point, is there?
No,
Is
the distinction, I mean,
the firmament of the heaven?
yes, that's right, in verse 15.
I'm looking at verse 17.
Or verse 17, yes, okay. He set them in the firmament of heaven. We see in verse 15, we have firmament mentioned 3 times.
Is the firmament of the earth different? Or,
I would say in some instances it is different. Not in all cases, but in some instances the firmament is different. But we have kind of...
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Danny, really. But, certain parts of the earth, like it's along the same lines.
Yes.
You're saying some places in the earth, some places it's light all the time, and other places it's dark all the time.
Yes.
And then some other places it'd be light half of the year and dark the other half of the year.
Yeah, that's correct. That's right. Now, that's because the tilt, the axis of the Earth is, at the present moment, it's tilted at a certain degree. Certain, I forget what the number of degrees it is. There's a tilt to the axis of the Earth. It's not straight. There's a tilt to it.
What you're saying right now, that's what science says. Like I said, some things science says is true, sometimes it's not. But that's what they said, what you just said, that's the reason.
Okay?
And they say the same thing you said,
Okay.
but they're still non-believers.
Right. Well, sometimes we would agree with what science would say.
Exactly, sometimes.
Now, see, the Bible is not a scientific book. When it talks about scientific things, it's accurate. I mean, everything the Bible talks about is accurate.
Just like science,
It's not a book of mathematics, but if it talks about mathematics, then it's when it talks about it, it's right.
just like science knows for a fact that the whole earth was once covered with water.
Okay?
And they know, what science also says, it's very possible that one time the sea parted, but they said because the earth was over here and the winds were blowing that way and it was tilted this way and it was coming that way, they said that's why the water separated.
Right.
That's how, you know what I mean?
Did we get to did I answer your question with the firmament, Tammy? Or not?
I'm not sure. I was just trying to see if that was the distinguishing point of that verse, because it said
If
the
it was the
firmament
same,
of the
she said.
heaven.
Yes, that's what I would say would make a distinction, because it was
Okay.
the firmament of the heaven and the stars. So we have the firmament of this. Here's the sword let me draw in here. There's the firmament of the earth is up here. Then there's another firmament above the firmament of the earth. It's the firmament of heaven. So this here is the water that's above the firmament. Then we have up even above here is we have this. Of course you can't see that. Maybe
You can see it.
Just bring it down a little.
There you go.
This up here is this area up here is the firmament of heaven.
If I look up in the dictionary that word, what would the definition of the word?
Firmament.
Yeah.
Look in the bottom.
Okay.
Look at your footnote.
Caroline.
See what it says.
Caroline.
Carol, you got the definition, Carol.
Expanse or vault over the earth, sky the stretched out heavens.
Okay.
Okay? And look at the bottom of your Bible. See what Caroline said? Her
It's a lot
definition.
shorter.
Oh no.
It's down here.
See, that's good.
Oh, good. Oh, okay. Good. Cool.
Then God would have also created the planets, because the
Yes.
planets
Yes.
shine at night like the moon does.
Yes, and on this fourth day, God would you're right, Joanne. God would also including the planets, everything in all the outer space, everything in outer space,
Right.
everything in outer space. God would have created on this
That's
fourth
what-
day.
Yeah.
On this fourth day.
Which I never realized that when you look up at night, that you can see the planets, until somebody had said to me, oh, that this past summer.
Right.
that
It was Venus that was out there.
Oh,
Yeah.
That only happens like some
Are they,
certain.
well, I guess, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
are they
they put
called
it to reflect
stars? But
sunlight.
no, maybe not.
But I never knew that you
They
could see
might
that.
be referred to
I
stars
knew
in Scripture. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they could be referred as planets. I'm not positive. Joey, go ahead and read verses 20. Start with verse 20 and then verse 21 and so forth. Looking at the fifth day of creation.
20 right here.
Yes.
And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures that have light, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the firmament of heaven.
And I'm 21.
Yes, that's right.
And God created great, what was it, whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly. After turn the page, after third kind, and every with some winged flow, after fowl, after his kind, and God saw that it was good.
All right, Carl?
And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth.
And the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
Yeah.
Okay, so now here in this...
Evening in the morning.
Evening in the morning. Evening in
I
the
think
morning.
those verses a lot.
Is that...
That's kind of
And
fun.
evening in the
And
morning.
so what we have here in this on the fifth day is we have sea animals, sea creatures,
Like fish, right?
yeah, fish and
Whales.
and whales.
So all
Whether they're
Mammals or fish.
anything that goes in the sea is created this day. and also the flies of the sky, any types of birds, would be created on the 5th day. So, understand that. Following?
What about insects? I don't know.
If there were sea insects, if there's any type of insects, I'm not sure if they would be called insects, but small little things that are in the sea are in the sea.
Next verse is for the insects we call.
Yeah, it's
Insects?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah, really?
I didn't think God made the insects
Yes, he
until
did. He made everything.
until there
She
was
says that. I
until
know.
there was sin, and then he.
She says that, but
Not all insects are punishment.
I know, that's what everybody keeps telling me, even the pastor
I know.
said that
Yes,
to
the
me.
scientist that too that time. And this,
I just didn't think I thought that was part of our curse.
no, insects.
And so understand what's happening on the 5th day here. Okay. Now let's move to the next part. We'll start with verse 24, all the way through through verse 31, for the 6th day.
And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing,
That's it, right?
and,
It's insects.
and beast of the earth after his kind, and it was so.
Creeping things are insects.
Yes, that's right.
All right. That's 25 going to 25. I don't know.
And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
All right, 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the whatever flow of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them.
Right. That's what I was looking for earlier, but go ahead. I have a question about that later.
Sure.
And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat.
And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat, and it was so.
And verse 31 here, please.
31.
And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day.
All right, so this is a summary of creation again, remember, so we're not getting into great detail about the creation. But in the 6th day, God's making the land animals, and land creatures, insects will be included if they're land insects. And more importantly, he made man. Now one thing we have to notice is he made man in his own image.
Right, that's right.
He made man in his own image. Doesn't say anything about the other parts of creation were made in his image.
No.
But he made man with his image. And again, all these things he made on the 6th day were made with maturity. Eddie, go ahead.
When I first started reading the Bible, this verse always I was always grabbed by this particular verse.
Yeah, yes.
So God created man in his image. In the image of God created him. Created him. Created he him.
Yeah.
Now listen, male and female created them. That means right there is saying the woman came from him.
Yes, that's right.
Male and female created he them.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Because Eve came from him.
That's correct.
Now, that's what I mean. I was always interested by this verse.
Yes.
It says it right there.
Yes, it
that
does.
woman came right from man.
Mhm.
So you know what I mean? That's all I have to
Right.
say.
Good.
And he didn't even have to get pregnant.
That's right.
Just gave her one of
God
your ribs.
created him.
Right.
I think that when you lose a rib, it grows back, don't it?
I don't think
That's yeah, I got it on a DVD at home.
Yeah,
It
George.
says the only rib that does grow back.
That one.
So you have the same amount that we have, or do you have one less?
Oh, no, we have the same amount.
We have the same amount, but if you
Yeah.
lose that rib,
After God
It
removed
will
that
grow
rib,
back.
that rib grew
and
back.
if we lose that rib, will grow back. But I don't know, with the woman too, or just for the man?
No, I think it's both.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe
That's
he had an extra one.
no, he didn't. No, but
He never got it back.
no, they science proved that too. That it came back. It will go, that's the only bone will come back is the rib. It just comes back, and they can't explain why.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
That particular.
See, he knows.
Right. Right. So, that's very interesting. So, now, again, the 6th day, God created everything with maturity. Now, any Tim, go ahead, thoughts?
Well, and interesting, kind of like Joanne
Yes.
mentioned earlier, as far as God gave them a job, it says, have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and the cattle. So, I mean, he even though he hadn't specifically given him, 10 the garden or 10 this, but
Right.
it says have dominion. So, I mean,
Right,
there was
yes.
a
A job.
job already.
All right, so any more thoughts, Tammy, about this chapter? Any key verses you want to tell us about, or any summaries you want to add to this short thing here?
I thought it was also interesting, verse 31.
Okay.
It was very good, as opposed to all the other days. It was just good.
I like classes like this because you get to ask questions. You know what I mean?
Here, I could have gotten it.
And other people have questions. Learn from them too. I like stuff like this.
All right, so Eddie, Caroline, what's something that you liked from this chapter here?
Just the part of, I guess, we're finding out about Adam and Eve and all what's going on.
Yes, right. That's good. That's very good. I know what's happening with everybody. Adam and Eve, and it was a male and female created he, them.
Yeah.
That's very good. God said it was very good. And another thing, humanity is created in the image of God. Image of God. Eddie, what's something that you got this year?
I just have to say, like I was saying, I like, we talked about this plenty of times.
Yes.
I like coming to things like
Yes.
this because you
Good.
get to ask questions.
Good. And so next week, same time, 4:30.
And are we going to
5:30?
continue from where we left off?
Well, yeah, we'll continue on with chapter 2.
Are we going to do the whole Bible?
Hope, maybe. we're
Next
going
week
to
we'll
focus
do
on Genesis for now. But, hey, Joanne, what's something that you want to
Your TV.
some comment or
I still think that the things that creepeth upon the earth
No.
were mice
It says
and
it right
maybe
there.
Okay.
other creatures and
No.
not necessarily
well,
insects.
we'll keep on,
It says it
keep
right
on
there.
investigating and see if that's we can come up with some.
I can't think of any reason why God would have made roaches and cockroaches and I just can't think. I think that was,
Garbage disposal.
but we didn't have any garbage then.
There's things would die out.
There was no
Plants.
death.
Well, after sin, yeah.
There was no
But,
death. I don't
So
believe
you
that there was.
contend, you're still going to hold on to the fact that they were part of the curse.
No
Okay,
one.
so we want to see
There's
if
not going to be any in heaven, and I just don't
Right.
think that there's going to be any.
we have to search word study and see how word insects are mentioned.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
Yes.
maybe like a bee, all right?
Yes.
some of
It's
it's
necessary.
clean food
Yes,
for
it is, you're right.
the children of Israel.
Locusts, yes, that's correct.
But
Some of
I-
us food for them.
But
Clean
I
food.
just don't think that he needed to make like locusts to that was a curse. The locusts would come and eat the crops.
It's a revelation.
But
It might be
locust-
delicious.
Locust was a delicate, was a food.
Yeah, but we didn't eat meat. We eat fruit,
Okay, right?
and that
Right.
would I think is considered a meat.
Okay, well, we'll continue on. We'll try and see if these insects, when they come back. Bill, what's some thoughts you might have about this?
I'm wondering if there's a certain compartment in heaven somewhere
There.
where they send all the insects.
Yeah.
And maybe he's going to send Joanne there.
Why hate it?
All right, anything else, Bill? Want to close the prayer, please, Bill?
Okay. Father in heaven, we thank you for everything. We thank you for the universe and the world that we live in. We thank you for all of the teachings that you provide to us so that we can know our place in this world and the promise of salvation that we have received. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, great. So this is